thanks for joining us. There was a wonderful phrase earlier from the chat from the post office where we coined the hashtag so retro it's cool. And I think contextual advertising kind of feeds into that. We'll start off with a round of introductions from our panelists, starting closest to me.
Hi everyone, I'm Olya and I work at Heineken, but with agency backgrounds, it was very interesting to hear previous panel conversations.
Hi, I'm Emily, I work at AKA. I'm digital director across lots of small clients like theatre and cultural and heritage sites. Small independent agency.
Hi, I'm Jan, I'm from H&M, global digital media manager, a very long title. Also agency background, so very interesting conversation earlier.
I am Gregor Smith from SmartFrame, and we're relatively new in market in the contextual space. We're essentially trying to do what YouTube have done in the video streaming space and Spotify in the music streaming space for the photography industry.
Awesome, thanks guys. So taking us right back to earlier on in the day in Rachel's presentation and following on from Kieron's rosé-based predictions, we talked about how there's going to be a rise in non-consented user audiences, and obviously coinciding with that, there's the rise in walled garden environments. So my first question to you guys is, should contextual advertising be seen as a default option for brands running advertising campaigns, given these ongoing industry changes? Olya, let's start with you.
Good question. I think obviously we talk here about importance of contextual, but personally I don't think this is the answer to everything. Contextual has massive history in advertising. It's been there since TV times, where technically say it is contextual as well. So I believe that there is a need for agility amongst businesses and agencies in terms of variety of targeting solutions that we have to use. Contextual is back. The development of it is very exciting, but we are at Heineken, we believe that testing and learning new technologies is also important, and new strategies, for example, getting closer to publishers and utilizing more of publishers' second-party data, or indeed do have your own first-party data strategy, although I personally don't believe, again, that this is the answer. This is a small part of what you do. So contextual is important as a scale driver, but it can't be considered outside of other opportunities.
Awesome. Gregor, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I agree with that to an extent. I think what's interesting is there was a YouGov Mori OpenX poll recently that showed that actually 2/3 of all online time is spent on the open internet, but almost 2/3 of the budget is spent within walled gardens like Meta, Google, Amazon. So I think contextual definitely has a big role to play to basically break some of those barriers down from the walled gardens, and ultimately, drive it into the open internet as well.
Awesome, thank you. Jan, how are you seeing the role of contextual?
So first off, I don't think the walled gardens are not contextual. I would argue that that's also contextual. Because H&M, we spend quite a lot in those walled gardens, and Google as well, Kieron. But I would also say that contextual is not back. I think it's just evolved. Just thinking about Triple Lift that was up here. I remember that campaign many, many years ago when programmatic was still the Wild West, when we did the first content display programmatic on Thomson Reuters when I was an agency. So that was programmatic content, contextual advertising. And yeah, being at an agency, I think it was like 10 impressions, but presenting to the client as a media first was an amazing success, which it clearly was not. But I think that shows that, and that was 2015, that it's been here all the time. It's just evolved massively as well, especially now when the cookie is disappearing.
Speaking on that evolution, how are the results from it currently quantified? And what tools and methods are people using to quantify that? Emily?
I think, we all know that it leads to, higher value leads and greater brand recall. I mean, the tools that we are using at AKA are things like GA and UTM tracking and seeing where those people are coming from, how long they're spending on site, looking at bounce rates and things like that. Also, kind of ultimately, we are looking at daily ticket sales. It was mentioned a lot earlier, the full funnel effect, and just making sure that, the impact that our activity has had on that very bottom line of driving sales, has it worked or has it not?
Awesome. Yeah, and how are you quantifying the results of Contextual?
Well, it's a bit more difficult for me because I work with branding and top of the funnel, obviously. So going back to what Brendan was saying in the previous panel is that what we look is very long-term metrics. So we look at MMM data, we look at share of search, share of voice, share of market, brand preference, maybe not so much brand awareness because, yeah, everyone knows who H&M is pretty much. So that's a bit of a longer-term game that we're playing in the top of the funnel, but it's also a more difficult one because working on the client side and brand side, when sales start to drop and the share prices go down, you all know marketing budgets are the first one to be targeted, and branding, that is the long game, is looked at the first time first as well. So yes, that's a bit of an uphill battle sometimes as well.
Yeah, feeding into that and how, obviously it was discussed in an earlier panel, focusing on measurement and attribution. Does contextual advertising require a change in how campaigns are measured and attributed? And is, the rise of the attention economy it's spoken about in a fair amount of depth, is attention the new viewability? Olya?
Same, I think I have to refer to the previous panel. I'm very much in agreement with the fact that we are often looking for a new shiny thing. Attention is one of those things right now. With that said, I think again, as Jan is saying, being on the business side, the client side, it is important to show the metrics that drive either bottom line or drive brand equity. So attention right now does enable us to move beyond media metrics. So when you have a conversation within your marketing department, with your management team, you finally can move beyond metrics like CTRs. At the same time, MMM is really long, so attention could be that nice bridge between your tactical media metrics and your long-term like ROI-based MMM studies that could start helping us again to prove the effectiveness. But also, I don't think that viewability necessarily is going to go. I mean, who knows? But I think they play completely different roles as well. Like attention is closer to business, viewability is much more tactical and much more media-driven. And ultimately, attention drives mental availability, as we hope, or as a lot of people proved. And we are testing it across our main brands, like Heineken, as well as smaller brands like Beavertown, to understand how that creative drives difference. So again, for brands, it's important. So attention gives us an opportunity to dive deeper into creative performance, not just the media channel performance. So where we show up and what are we going to show up with.
Awesome. Emily, how are you viewing attention as it relates to context?
Yeah, I think it's a very exciting new metric. Again, it's the new shiny thing that everyone's talking about. A lot of our publishers are starting to report back on those kind of metrics for us, and we're showing them to clients, and they're interested in it because it's new and shiny. I think that, contextual drives attention, and attention drives sales. So I think, for us, it's a great thing to be looking at for our clients, being in that kind of industry and looking to drive ticket sales at the end of the day.
I'll just add quickly, to us, I know we talk about attention, but attention and contextual, but I think when we measure the attention, you do have to look at everything, like all your targeting strategies, audiences strategies, and the placements. No matter where you are, as Jan said, social is very much contextual, so we need to understand how we perform there and what drives attention there versus something that is not necessarily a contextual targeting mechanic as well.
Absolutely, makes sense. And Gregor, in terms of how technology is helping shape the future of contextual, obviously we've got these backdrop elements of attention, viewability. How is technology helping shape the future of contextual, and also in terms of bringing in those elements such as machine learning and artificial intelligence?
So we work with integral ad science and admantics to understand fully the context of an image, and basically we understand that image without any ambiguity through human verified metadata. So quite a lot of the other players in the market will just use AI, and AI is obviously a very powerful tool, and it can go so far to understand the context of an image, but it doesn't always get it quite right, so it's not always 100% accurate. With the human verified metadata, which we garner from a direct relationship with the content libraries we work with, the likes of the Adobes and the Gettys, we understand without any ambiguity the full context of that image, which allows us to therefore target advertising campaigns accordingly to that. So yeah, technology plays a big part in it.
Sorry, could I just add to that what you said, Olya, that attention, I think, is very important, but it's also important to look at it in the actual context as well. So, I mean, when we still don't have it 100%, but viewability is a metric that we could use for the time being. But what is it, like the viewability is 2 seconds, 50% of the ad is not the same if you look at an image in text or if it's scrolling on TikTok or on Reels. So you have to have the specific metric for the specific context that it's in as well. I mean, creating even more KPIs to look at, obviously, but I don't know, maybe IB should start looking at that and saying that. I assume that they will email me after for a task force. But yeah.
And in kind of feeding on from that in terms of the kind of context in which the ad placement sits, how does Contextual sit within, you know, an omnichannel advertising strategy and also within particular environments? So there's so many different environments now, obviously. There's, you know, it's not just TV and display. There's now CTV, there's now social, there's now different types of activated video. How does Contextual sit within that, Jan?
Well, for us, I mean, we look at the business outcomes, and you have to always go back to your segmentation, right? So where does that sit? So you have to look at where your target audience is. So it doesn't really matter if it's CTV or if it's Meta or YouTube. And also working with brand, I mean, context is key, but what we also work with quite a lot at HM is what context not to be shown as, going back to G-Reel's presentation. I mean, kids content, all of that, we have to work really hard to not be shown there as well. So I think, yeah, it sits within the whole omni-channel, but more with the branding part, the full funnel, in the full funnel. And I would also say that I mean, in branding, I don't really look at the right message to the right person at the right time anymore, because I'm quite sick of that. More of the right message to the right audience, to the right context, I would argue.
Olya, where do you see Contextual sitting within omnichannel and within different environments such as social and CTV?
I'm very much in agreement that it does say, like right now, I think context lives beyond digital, yeah? So it has started years ago in traditional media, it evolved, became in digital something much better and stronger. But to me, it really all starts with good old consumer insights and proper media planning. So you basically, the contextual strategy you set on the back of your good audience strategy. And I think right now, as previous panelists talked about again, I think the more we talk about the better understanding of consumers from diversity and inclusion standpoint, yeah, we know that those ethnic minorities are driving about, I think someone said like 300 billion of potential economy for us, yeah, so how can we tap into those people in the right environments, but also how we make sure we have technologies that help us to show up in those environments, because we talk about a couple of partners from like LGBTQ, and normally with our settings, we would never show up there, like never. We're not going to be able to talk to them. And 50% of those portals are actually straight people, not necessarily LGBTQ people, but people who are connected to them. So to me, it's important that everything starts with consumer, then that we are showing up in the right environments using the tech across all channels, from traditional TV programming that we choose to access those people, all the way down to going into display environments, or like the usual publisher environments, because accessing the right people or with the right message, basically.
Makes perfect sense. And Emily, how are your clients using Contextual within their strategies and across those different environments?
Yeah, we use it a lot. We use, you know, someone said it earlier, location is context, so we make sure that we're tying in our out-of-home ads. You know, an example being, we look after a lot of theatre clients, so we'll ensure that we are in the West End, because that's, you know, highly contextually relevant. But then we'll also be running online, on social or on display with people that are interested in theatre, people that are interested in things to do in London, and making sure that it all correlates, you know. And I also think it's really interesting thinking about context, not just aligning to content, but, you know, someone who's viewing your ad in a CTV environment, much more leaned back and quite relaxed, is slightly different to those kind of that more leaned in environment of a YouTube pre-roll or an in-stream ad in a native article. And we're really careful in making sure we're sending the right message to those people. They might very well be different messages because of the situation that that audience is in at that particular time. So, you know, right message, right time, right place. I can't remember if I just said it.
Absolutely, and Jan, I know you're very, very keen to talk about contextual within gaming environments. How does that feed in there?
So I think we should start, when we're looking at context, we should start looking at gaming, because the gaming audience is kind of like the blueprint from where we want to be, right? So if you look at Twitch, for example, I mean, they have ad blockers. If the ad is not right, they will not look at it. If the brand is not conveying a good message, they will hate you forever, pretty much. So you have to have it right. You have to be there on their terms and not utilizing their data that they have not consented to. So I think that is I think blueprint for us as an industry, how we should move forward with contextual as well, and not just bombarding people with retargeting ads as we have for such a long time. But also utilizing gaming. I mean, the new shiny thing that we're all aware of is now metaverse, right? So everyone's jumping on that, but we have talked about gaming for so long that it's taken off, but has it really? And that is a huge potential opportunity, I think, for all brands. I mean, Heineken, I know you're looking at that as well.
Yeah.
So it's a huge potential, and if we get it right in gaming, we could get it right in other contexts as well, I think.
I'd say, sorry.
Just going to say, people spend a lot of time on the phones or on gaming as well, so it's, in terms of the attention, that's what's grasping them as well.
Yeah, but also looking at, I mean, maybe looking away from in-app gaming of forcing the video to be able to play or to get, I don't know, free coins for the game, but actually having more integrated partnerships or, I don't know, pre-rolls where it's a more lean-in environment.
Gaming, I think, is an interesting one because it clearly pushes the boundaries, because there is lots of violence potentially in traditional e-games and e-sports. Not talking about mobile games, yeah, like a simple Candy Crush that I still have on my phone. But it does push the boundaries. So for us, because we just launched Heineken Silver, I mean, basically the first Heineken launch we had in years, in decades, and we did it in Metaverse. But we have like a massive frameworks to tell us where we can and can't show up in gaming, because predominantly we can't show up anywhere because we can't be associated with violence. But at the same time, we have those new gaming environments where we're trying to be good in a context and define what's right. And we have our traditional channels like social, where a couple of years ago when we were in lockdown and all desperately talking about the fact that we don't have adjacency in social and try to push social platforms to give us more control over where we show up, 2 years later, we're still there. Yeah, we do use audience interest targeting, but in reality, I mean, we can't really say, I mean, if my story is going to show up next to someone else's more inappropriate content, I still don't know that. And I think that scares me much more than anything else, is the fact that we have those platforms where, as an advertisers, we still don't have an adjacency controls.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be worked on. Shifting tack slightly in terms of, again, referencing one of the previous panels looking at the service layer, obviously, the re-rise of contextual has come amid a redevelopment of the relationship between the buy and sell sides. And I'm interested to get your guys' perspectives on how context is evolving alongside that change in relationship. Gregor.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and it's really good to sit with a couple of clients on the panel as well, because I feel that brands are driving a lot of the conversations with contextual. So a little plug for ExchangeWire, but we did a Vox Pop about a month ago, and on the back of that we had a couple of brands coming to us asking for demos and more information. One of them was Mars Wrigley. We hadn't actually engaged the agency at that point, but we have since, and they were really interested in understanding more about the opportunities available, not just within our tech, but contextual as a whole. So I feel that a lot of the brands have got a big place to almost drive it within their agencies to really get it front and center. Now, that's not to say that all the big agency holding groups are behind the cover in this. I mean, in fact, a lot of them are have their own in-house teams to essentially future-proof their business, to work towards this. What do we do with the death of the third-party cookie? How are we future-proofing the business? And contextual is obviously one of the offerings out there that can do that. Omnicom are very strong with that, and also Heineken's agency, Dentsu, we work very closely with the guys there. A couple of name checks, but Dan Calladine, the head of futures there, and Peter Wayne, who's the global head of innovation, they're very much driving things forward within Dentsu to really, get it front of mind, and so keep those opportunities available.
Well, we are doing in-house buying digitally. which is, it is a rarity because again, I mean, I'm working at Heineken UK, not a global level. So I think when you're at the local level, it's much easier to do something like digital buying. But I would absolutely agree that you have to have, I think you do have to have, as in any situation, all parties come together. It does have to be the right set of, well, advertisers as well as agencies, as well as publishers coming together to find solutions, solve the challenges, because I think a good example is CTV, because Jan touched based on it. CTV is a well-growing opportunity for us in terms of reaching audiences. However, UK market, when it comes to ability to measure CTV, ability to control CTV, is way behind. Even like, I thought it wasn't someone on the panel from Australia. I mean, way behind. I mean, Australia, every broadcaster kind of understands the reality and necessity. We are a little bit still thinking about traditional sort of broadcasting, and then CTV does not have enough opportunities for us to control. So we need to get together to break those barriers and make sure that we have more capabilities to create a better experiences in those channels.
Definitely. Sorry, Ian.
Yeah, sorry. I agree with that, and also to strengthen your point, Greg, that it's kind of as a brand, as a client to the agencies, our responsibility to brief the agencies properly, right? So for them to do a good job, they need to be well informed, and for that they need to be properly briefed by us as a client, which 9 out of 10 times doesn't really happen well. And we also need to share MMM results or share of market, share of search, everything with the agency, so they can take part of that and give us proper recommendations as well. And so it's not just looking at the agency as a supplier, but more as a partner, as you said.
Absolutely. And Emily, how are you working with your clients, and how are they approaching Contextual in that regard?
Well, just to your point about the relationship between the buy side and the sell side, I think that from our point of view, being an independent agency, we have really strong relationships with a lot of partners anyway. You know, we sort of have the agility to be able to put the client's budget wherever it is the best fit, and you know, I think that's really important. And again, you know, making sure that the messaging is right for that particular fit. I also think that you know, to kind of further bolster that relationship between buy and sell side, it gives the smaller independent publishers an opportunity to monetize their content. You know, ones that aren't owned by a larger conglomerate with, you know, logged in data and first party data. It gives that kind of much more, you know, potentially higher value, more bespoke niche audiences, you know, the opportunity to monetize the people that are visiting those web pages and that are in those contextual environments. That's really key for us. You know, our clients we have quite bespoke offerings, and we do have kind of, you know, wider offerings as well, but there are some plays that are very niche and have a very particular audience that we need to get in front of people that are going to be interested in that. So, you know, we have a great relationship, and I think, you know, the development and the progression of Contextual will only further bolster that kind of relationship.
I'll just not to add, I think I'll keep banging the drum of inclusivity and diversity in marketing and media, because I mean, even like, you know, we talk about it, but this is exactly what we should be doing. Those publishers are there. They can't get monetized because we're blocking them, and because also we are not planning properly for them. But Dentsu, I mean, going back to our relationships with Dentsu, being strategic partner for us, yes, they don't do like buying of digital, but they're the ones who are bringing those right partners to us. They're the ones who are helping us to generate those insights, to help us to identify those audiences. So it is about building our industry, making it more independent, but also helping our consumers who right now don't get the right messages to get the right advertising targeted for them and made for them creatively as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That collaboration piece is absolutely key. Shifting a tack again in terms of the the role of context in creativity, and obviously we've been seeing in terms of the move from more individual-based targeting to that kind of overall audience / context-based targeting. What is the role of creativity within that contextual advertising piece, and what tools are being made available to help provide that process? Gregor.
I think DCO, so dynamic creative optimization, plays quite a key role. So actually understanding the full context of the image and be able to serve ads in real time, dependent on who's actually viewing those ads. So that's something that we're seeing definitely an increase in. I think creativity is absolutely critical. So I mean, I think it was Lumen Research said that 4 in 100 ads only have more than 1 second of viewability, which is a pretty scary start, really. You know, so it means that an awful lot of advertising dollars or pounds or euros is getting wasted. So what we very much see contextual, if, and I hate to say it, but right ad, right place, right time. If we see, I just annoy them, but you know, if we actually do get that right, then that should only make the viewability, engagement, the dwell times on sites, and ultimately for all you guys, sales increase, and you know that's obviously the holy grail. So creative is really important. We have an in-house creative studio at SmartFrame. We've done mock-ups, you know, for any sort of pitch that we do, and really pulled together some really cool creative content across video, responsive design. Creative's critical.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some DCO, obviously, like probably every client, but yeah, the ROIs are amazing. I mean, our euros ROIs were nearly 2, so that shows a lot. But I think what's interesting is from moving from traditional DCO that we have, as you mentioned, the like usual triggers that we're using to start and looking into that, yeah, contextual DCO, so we can start almost like predicting to what we need to show up with in the environment. What's the right format that we need to plug in? Is it the video, the display? Not just traditionally adjusting the assets as we would do currently. So I think that's the next level. But ultimately, you still start with the basics, I think. We still start with understanding what kind of creatives you want to put in front of each audience in each moment, and also test and learn. Again, back to a previous panelist, it's really hard to be in the end of the day because everyone says everything already. But testing and learning, I think, is massively important, and the more we do contextual, I think the more we'll have to utilize it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I think this year was very important, but more of the mid-lower funnel. But I think it's also very important with the actual branding, creative, the big madman idea that still has a place, but it's just been forgotten a little bit. But just to tweak it more to understand for the platform. So if it's TikTok, you need to talk TikTok to see exactly how that should be tweaked to be right. But you still need that big idea. And obviously not for all brands that is possible. I mean, for us, we have, I think, 6 months lead time, so it's not that I can change the creative based on campaign results, but also working closely with partners and with the agency. I think the Dentsus had a lot of up here, so I'm going to up my agency, which is Publicis, so yeah. We're doing
with them as well.
They're good as well. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
I was just going to add a point on testing and learning, because that's something that we do a lot of as well. We'll serve a family and a non-family creative to different contextual segments of the same brand message, but with bespoke messaging for each of those, and seeing what kind of performs well against for that particular brand, and kind of making benchmarks and segments on each of those, making benchmarks on each of those segments to kind of use for future reference. I mean, we also use DCO in terms of pushing last minute availability for performances, where we have, live data feeds that feed in that the next performance is 2:30, at a particular theatre, and that, performs really well for us and generates really strong ROI.
Awesome, great to hear. I'm very conscious of time, and I'm not going to go down the Lindsay route of getting absolutely furious at my panelists, so we'll wrap it up there, but please talk to these guys further, because there's so many different things we can talk about more about context, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.